The first time that you were playing here was in the opening act to Metallica in the World Magnetic Tour on March 10, 2012. I was there. It was an amazing concert, I imagine. I remember a lot of things about that. So do you recall something about to this show?
Um, I mean, I remember just the incredible energy of the crowd. They were just so yeah, they were, you know, it's always a daunting task when you're opening for such a legendary band like Metallica. Um, but the people there made us feel very welcome, and we didn't feel like an opener, you know what I mean? They really made us feel at home, and it was really fantastic. What a beautiful country, and what all the people were really amazing to us. And so it's it's a it's a shame that we can't get down there more often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Brann, back in 2004, Leviathan became a phrased in conceptual and progressive metal. How was the conception and process, and how came the idea of an album dealing with Moby Dick?
Well, I had just gotten married, and I was going to meet the guys. We were starting a tour in the UK, and this was in the June of 2003. And when I went to the bookstore, because I had 3 layovers and a 23-hour journey ahead of me, and I had it in the back of my head that I wanted to try to do something that involved Moby Dick, but I hadn't read the book since I was 15 years old. So I knew I needed to reread it. And so I read it on the flight. And by the time I got to meet up with the guys, I had everything all worked out for my sales pitch to pitch to the guys that we should do an album based on Moby Dick. And I laid it all out, and they were really super into it. And the rest is history. You know, it really was because we knew that Remission was a Fire record sort of after the fact, and we said we should do the four elements. And so water was next, but just saying the word water is pretty vague. So I felt like we needed some kind of narrative to tie it all together. And Moby Dick was the perfect example, just because we sort of felt like we were chasing some kind of, I mean, Moby Dick at its core is a tale about obsession, and we at the time, and we still are to a degree, but at the time we were definitely obsessed with, you know, chasing some kind of dream that we didn't even know if was really out there for us. But nonetheless, we got into our van and we were driving around the country for months and months and months, playing rock shows in basements and any club that would have us, and obsessed with chasing our music, and so it made sense.
Hush and Cream was released in 2021. It shows a more mature band concept. Which is the main concept behind this album, or how was conceived?
Well, Hush and Grim is a grand, epic gesture to our beloved friend Nick John, who was our manager for almost 20 years, but more than that, just a really great friend of ours. And we knew that whatever we were going to do musically next was going to be a tribute to him, and so it had to be big. And so everything that was coming out musically was epic and a little bit melancholy, and just sort of us trying to work through the emotions of losing someone so important to not only us as human beings, but just the band in general, and everything that he had done for us up until that point, because we really wouldn't be where we are today without his help and his, he just was like the fifth member of the band, so losing him was incredibly hard, painful experience. But I sort of had this idea about this tree and another sort of offering to an afterlife mythology would be that once you die, your soul inhabits the heart of a tree, and then you experience the seasons one more time, and you sort of are able to reflect on your life through those seasons. And then when it's finished, you can move on to the next dimension. So that was the basic gist of it. And then it just developed into this 1.5 hour long journey. And, you know, yeah, it was difficult. It's difficult to listen to because it was emotional, and it still is. So it's hard to put on and listen to it because it kind of transports me back to some of those more difficult moments. And yeah, so that's Hushed and Grim.
Okay, Brann,
Awesome.
so do you consider this tour with Gojira as a tribute to Nick John?
No, this is more of a tribute to Mastodon and the fans that we don't get to see very often in South America. You know, everything we do from Nick's passing on will be, you know, we have him in our hearts, of course, but this is more about the celebration of our fans down there. So it'll be a lot of music from our whole catalog, and you know, just we want to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. It's a crazy show. It's, you know, all the bells and whistles of a big production rock show for the fans down there, and they deserve it. They're some of the best fans in the world. So we're just excited to get down there, and us with Gojira, it's just the perfect combination. And so we love those guys, and we can't wait to come down there and experience it. You know, it's always a really incredible experience, and it makes you feel so good, and it really makes you just the South American people are just so full of life and happiness, and you know, it's just great to be down there. So we're very excited. Can't wait.
We can't wait to.
Okay, nice to hear you that, Brann. So the next question that we have is Hush and Grim marked the return with Paul Romano, who also sleeps for Crack the Sky, Leviathan, and more. What was the reason for working again with Paul Romano? And what was the main idea behind the artwork?
Well, Paul, you know, I love working with Paul, you know, but we are, you know, as a collective are into so much different art. We felt like after Crack the Sky, we just needed a little break, you know, and it was we were always going to go back and work with Paul again, you know, we just didn't know when. And then when this double album when it started to come into being a double album, we were like, we got to use Paul because there's so many details, and he's just a very detail-oriented artist, you know, and he's very thoughtful, and I'll give him all the lyrics and all the song titles, and he'll incorporate little Easter eggs throughout all the art. And he'll make this huge, crazy painting, which he did, and all the symbolism will be in there, and he'll borrow from all different religions, and he'll borrow from, you know, all different masterworks of art, and they'll just kind of, you know, weave this web of storytelling within the art that really connects up with the music that's inside, and you know, something you could stare at for hours, I think. And so we knew Paul was going to be the guy for this particular situation, you know what I mean?
Yes, we do. Brann, the last one is, in your opinion, what would be the best word to describe the Mastodon sound in this Huge and Grain?
I said devastating.
Devastating. Okay.
It's very nice.